میهن بلاکچین.
Mihail asks, is Ethereum the next Bitcoin? No, I don't think so. And the reason I don't think so is because I think that Ethereum specializes in a completely different application domain and different use cases. I don't think Ethereum does what Bitcoin does, and I don't think it can or wants to really, because that would severely constrain its development speed and flexibility. It would have to become much more conservative in order to serve the application role that Bitcoin serves. I don't think Bitcoin could do what Ethereum does for the same reason. Bitcoin would have to be much more flexible, much less conservative, much more faster in its development cycle, which would undermine its fundamental role as a very robust, very secure system that can defend against collusion between nation states and broad-based attacks. So for all of those reasons, I think Bitcoin and Ethereum occupy parallel, separate, slightly overlapping niches, but where the center of the use case of each niche is distinct enough that they do not really compete head-to-head. And I think that applies with many cryptocurrencies. The ones that are successful and get first mover advantage solidify their position in an application niche. If they try to compete too closely with something that already exists and not differentiate enough, then the first mover advantage is almost insurmountable and they can't succeed. If they differentiate a lot in order to move further away from the first mover, then they no longer occupy the same application space and they can specialize in a different niche and perhaps succeed in being the first mover in that niche. So I think there are a couple of niches that are emerging: smart contracts, robust sound and very secure money, privacy, very strong privacy systems, resource allocation and sharing systems perhaps, such as storage, memory, CPU, and things like that. But we'll see. It's very early to tell, and these things don't always go the way the designers had hoped for. People tend to use technology for their own uses and find uses of the technology that the designer did not anticipate. The market decides ultimately what the niches are, which applications are perfect for the time and the audience when they are launched, and which systems gain enough first mover advantage to firmly establish themselves. Once a market gets into that configuration, I think the only thing that allows it to shake up is there's either a fundamental change in the way the market operates, like for example, when we went from 5 big photography manufacturers that made cameras to suddenly every phone having a camera, and that shook up the photography business enough to reorder the leaders in that business, and some of them went out of business. That kind of first mover advantage and that kind of solidified market doesn't get shaken up unless you change the parameters of the market dramatically through the introduction of some radical new technology that's very disruptive. That may happen. Until that happens, unless one of these systems fails for its own reasons through internal division or a very, very fundamental and long-lasting bug that takes the system down, I think a lot of the first movers in this space enjoy such an advantage that they're almost impossible to unseat. So Ethereum is not the next Bitcoin. Ethereum is the next Ethereum, and Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin. I recently did a video about that if you're interested in watching it.
میهن بلاکچین.